Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our live coverage of the latest mission from Vandenberg Space Force Base. I'm Will Robinson Smith. I'll be providing our commentary for the duration of this coverage. We are broadcasting, as we always do, from the Spaceflight Now News Bureau here at NASA's Kennedy Space Center. Yes, to answer one of our channel member Wicked Code's comments in the live chat, essentially was warming up the old vocal pipes, getting ready for round two for SpaceX live launch coverage today. For those of you who were with us earlier this afternoon, welcome back. If you're just joining us for the first time today, welcome to our live coverage of the Starlink 9-2 mission, second of a Falcon 9 rocket to lift off from the continental United States this evening. Of course, the Starlink 10-2 mission launched successfully from Cape Canaveral Space Force Station with liftoff about quarter after 1 p.m. here on the East Coast, deploying 22 Starlink satellites to low Earth orbit. Mission on tap this evening, fairly similar, deploying to the ninth shell, as the name implies, of the Starlink mega constellation. 20 Starlink satellites, V2 minis, on board this particular Falcon 9 rocket, set to lift off in 27 minutes and 7 seconds. 13 of those include the direct-to-cell capability. With this addition to the DTC piece of the constellation, after tonight, SpaceX will have sent up a total of 90 of these direct-to-cell satellites. If the pattern holds, they'll continue to launch 13 per batch of satellites heading to the ninth shell. Of course, we'll continue to track the number of DTC satellites in addition to our other stats that we keep track of and let you know the progress on that as we continue to see the growth of that constellation. This evening, we are supported by our editor, Stephen Young, who's running the technical operations of the broadcast. Our photographers, Adam Bernstein, Michael Kane, enjoying the evening off. This is, of course, a launch from California. They were hard at work supporting our Florida coverage earlier today. We'll have a busy day tomorrow as we are getting prepared for the first Falcon Heavy launch of the year. That'll be supporting NASA and NOAA's GOES-U satellite, the fourth and final in the GOES-R series of satellites that are used to monitor weather conditions as well as climate observations here in the United States. That mission set to launch from pad 39A on Tuesday at 5:16 p.m. Let's go ahead and take a live look over at that pad right now. At this point in the evening, we were expecting to see the Falcon Heavy rocket reaching the launch pad there near the crew access tower. However, earlier this evening, the hangar door opened up, the Falcon Heavy started to roll out, but then the rocket was rolled back into the hangar and the door was closed. So we are working to learn more about the reason for the rollback and what potential impacts this may have on the timing of everything between here and launch day. Of course, with any additional updates, we'll be sure to pass those along to you as we learn them. But now's a good time to bookmark spaceflightnow.com on your preferred web browser if you haven't already. Go ahead and check that for further updates that we'll post there, as well as to our social media. If you're not already following us, we are on X, formerly known as Twitter, as well as Threads and Facebook. Currently, with this mission that we're tracking here tonight, the Starlink flight from Vandenberg Space Force Base, SpaceX has begun fueling the Falcon 9 rocket. We're now at T-minus 23 minutes, 52 seconds and counting. Before we step into the launch countdown, first off, I want to thank the more than 5,800 of you that are joining with us live this evening. If you haven't already, be sure to hit that like button. It allows the YouTube algorithm to recognize this is an active stream and that we've got a lot of folks that are joining with us, and it allows some more people to find their way into the live coverage as well. Speaking of the live coverage, we couldn't do these types of streams without the support of our wonderful moderators holding it down in the live chat. So thanks to Callisti Lee, Astro Jen, and Astro Joe. I see y'all joining us this evening. Hope you are all doing well. Callisti, good to see you back again after this afternoon. Try to keep an eye on the live chat and see if we spot Stephanie B and or Rusty Shackelford. We're also powered by a wonderful channel member community here on YouTube. So thanks to folks like Callisti Lee, Jimbo Indy, Mrs. Ed 3, Patty Chichill, Paz Maria H, Josh King, Rhonda Walters, Artemis, Glenn A, Divinely Chosen Tiff, and many others. Channel membership comes with a number of perks, including discounts at our online shop.spacelightnow.com, access to member-only videos here on YouTube, and the ability to watch all of our Cape-based launch liftoff moments in 4K. Speaking of Artemis, big ups to him for kicking us off with a good bit of generosity here, gifting 50 Spaceflight Now memberships. Really appreciate that level of generosity, Artemis. And to our 50 newest channel members from Artemis, also, I see Psychonaut69 also get into Spaceflight Now membership. Appreciate that, Psychonaut. So to our newest 51 channel members, welcome aboard. We're glad to have you with us. Be sure to thank Artemis or Psychonaut in the live chat. And Artemis not done, gifting another 20 Spaceflight Now memberships. My goodness, sir. Thank you so much for your support this evening. In addition to a $50 super chat. Really, really appreciate the support of this level, Artemis. Thank you so much. Artemis says, let's get those donations going, people. With his trademark Leroy Jenkins in there for good measure. Going back to this mission, we're now T-minus 21 minutes, 4 seconds, and counting. Mention that countdown timeline. We are stepping well through the fueling process right now. Back at the T-minus 38-minute mark is the point at which the poll concludes ahead of the start of propellant load. The process for SpaceX is a little bit different than what we hear in some other countdown polls, like the recent Rocket Lab mission on their 50th flight, or say an Atlas V rocket, where you will hear all the various positions on console give a verbal go-ahead to proceed from their position. SpaceX does theirs electronically, so with a simple mouse click, it can digitally register that they are ready to move on. So once the team has pulled go for prop load, then that process begins the T-minus 35-minute mark with a couple of events. RP1, or rocket grade kerosene, is loaded on board the tanks on the Falcon 9 first and second stages. And at the same time, liquid oxygen is loaded on board the Falcon 9's first stage. T-minus 30-minute mark, they start loading cryogenic helium onto the pressure vessels in the Falcon 9's first stage. Helium is used to pressurize the main propellant tanks during flight. Same process starts at about the T-minus 25-minute mark on the second stage. T-minus 23 minutes, second stage kerosene loading concludes. Then at T-minus 20 minutes and 50 seconds is when the strong back chill down process begins. You'll recall this from our Cape launches as the big vent. We start to see the big vent at about T-minus 20 minutes and 20 seconds, though the actual chill down process begins 30 seconds prior at the time you see here. It's followed by the start of second stage LOX load on the Falcon 9 at T-minus 16 minutes. Moving on to the T-minus 7-minute mark, the chill down of the 9 Merlin 1D engines gets underway. That involves flowing a small amount of liquid oxygen through the plumbing and the turbopumps. It helps protect the engines from the risk of thermal shock and damage during the startup sequence. About 6 minutes before liftoff, the first stage kerosene tank should be full. Then at T minus 4.5 minutes, the strong back retract sequence begins. It starts with the clamp arms underneath the payload fairings opening up. And then here at Vandenberg, the transporter erector of the strong back will recline about 13 degrees away from the Falcon 9 rocket. It stays in that position until liftoff. 3 minutes out, the first stage LOX tank is full. Same on the second stage at about the 2 minute mark, at which point the Falcon 9 is fully loaded with 1 million pounds of propellant. In the final 60 seconds, control of the countdown is handed over from the ground sequencer to the Falcon 9's onboard flight computers. The propellant tanks are brought up to flight pressure. The launch director will give their go for launch at 45 seconds out. The engine ignition command is issued at T minus 3 seconds. And if all 9 engines are healthy and ignite, the command will be given for the hold down clamps to release the Falcon 9 rocket for a T0 liftoff. Tonight, again, they are targeting that liftoff at 8:47 p.m. Pacific, 11:47 p.m. Eastern, 03:47 UTC, or in other words, 17 minutes, 15 seconds. If having 2 rocket launches was not enough for SpaceX today, of course, they've been busy with other things as well. Taking a look back from earlier today, about an hour and a half, hour, 45 minutes after the liftoff of the Falcon 9 rocket in support of the Starlink 10-2 mission, saw the rollout of yet another Falcon 9 booster pass by us here at the press site. Apologies for the technical hiccup. What you're looking at here on your screen is the rollout of the Falcon 9 first stage booster, tail number 1062 in the SpaceX fleet. A little hard to read that 62 number there near the top of the rocket, just a little bit beneath the hypersonic grid fins there by the Falcon logo. However, our photographer Michael Kane was able to get a nice tight shot as the booster was passing by. This video shot by our other photographer, Adam Bernstein, as the rocket was rolling out from the Hangar X site, heading out, we believe, to Space Launch Complex 40, more than likely in support of the upcoming Starlink mission launching later this week, that being Starlink 10-3. Of note for this booster, it currently has 21 flights under its previous launch history, and this will make launch number 22, making this booster once again the launch leader for SpaceX and its Falcon 9 first stage booster fleet. Currently, it's tied with B-1061. This booster, B-1062, last launched back in mid-May. So looking forward to seeing it take to the skies again. As we've mentioned previously, SpaceX is in the process of certifying its first stage boosters for up to 40 flights each, along with the payload fairings. And in fact, on the Starlink 10-2 mission, SpaceX noted that one of the fairing halves launched for a 20th time, becoming the launch lead or the flight leader among the fairings. Currently at T minus 13 minutes, 55 seconds and counting. We're a couple minutes into second stage LOX load at this point. Less than 7 minutes away from the start of the engine chill down sequence. As we're awaiting that next fueling milestone, let's go ahead and talk about where this Falcon 9 rocket's going to be going once it leaves the pad. Let's talk a little trajectory, shall we? As has been and will likely continue to be the case with missions heading to the ninth shell of the Starlink constellation. Once the rocket leaves the pad here at Space Launch Complex 4 East or Slick 4E, Falcon 9 will fly in a southeasterly trajectory along the coast of California and Mexico, being that we're fairly close to sunset, as was the case with the last Falcon flight from California. For our friends in the area of California and possibly Arizona and Utah, keep your eyes to the skies. You may see a very cool jellyfish effect. If you do, be sure to try to snap a photo, grab a video if you can, and tag us on X, formerly known as Twitter. We'd love to see what you can see from wherever you are. Following stage separation, the first stage booster flying this mission, which is B-1075 in the SpaceX fleet, will land on the drone ship. Of course, I still love you. As mentioned, SpaceX is trying to get to 40 flights with its payload fairing, so naturally it will endeavor to recover the fairing halves from this mission and bring them back into port where they will be refurbished and turned around for future flights. They float down to the waters of the Pacific Ocean, supported by a parachute system. SpaceX noted in a company presentation earlier this year that they save about $6 million per recovery effort. Here's what it looks like as they're being loaded onto the recovery vessel. Now T minus 11 minutes, 37 seconds and counting. We're now T minus 10 minutes, 50 seconds and counting. Taking a look at the live chat, want to thank the now more than 15,000 of you who are joining with us live. Really appreciate you spending part of your Sunday evening with us as we count down towards another launch of the Falcon 9 rocket. If you haven't already, we'd certainly appreciate it if you could do us a favor by hitting the like button. It shows YouTube that y'all are here with us, live and engaging, and it'll allow this video and this live content to be brought to more folks. We certainly appreciate that. Also appreciate some of the support that we've gotten through the YouTube Super Chat feature and some new channel members as well. So welcome aboard to Michael T. Gazel, attorney at law, joining us at the spacecraft commander level. Really appreciate that, Michael, joining us at the top tier there. A few folks with $2 super chats here. Desert Rat, 1697. Thank you so much. Ralph Kill Cup, one of our wonderful channel members. Thank you, Ralph. Good to see you tonight. Sharon Walker, appreciate the super chat, as well to Terry Darrow saying, love what you guys do. Thank you. Well, thank you so much, Terry, for supporting us this evening. And yes, as long as your comment or question is appropriate to be read on the show, we'd love to bring you into the conversation using that super chat function. Ernie Sierra with a $5 super chat. Thank you so much, Ernie. And Haley Higgins, hashtag Irish Haley, joining us from Oceanside, just north of, and the message looks like it's cut off. Sid or SD. Oh, San Diego. That's right, from last time. Yes, yes. Also want to thank some more generosity from our wonderful channel members here. Looks like Artemis gifted another 40 super chats in total. Thank you so much, Artemis. Callistia Lee jumping in with 10 Spacefly Now memberships, and Sean Wilson as well, gifting 20 Spacefly Now memberships. Really appreciate that from all of you. Channel membership is one of the main things that sustains our work here at Spaceflight Now. So if you are able to join the channel membership, it is certainly appreciated. And be sure to thank those who gifted channel memberships to you if you are one of those lucky recipients. When someone gifts a channel membership, it is randomized who is the recipient. So we have no control over that. The gifter has no control over that. So count yourself lucky if you did get that bonus and enjoy access to our member-only videos, discounts at our online shop.spaceflightnow.com, the ability to watch the liftoff moments of all of our launches from the Cape in 4K. Now T-minus 8 minutes and counting here, about a minute away from the chill down of the 9 Merlin 1D engines. On board tonight's Starlink 9-2 mission are a total of 20 Starlink satellites. Among those are 13 that feature the direct-to-cell capability. SpaceX has so far launched 77 of those. This will bring the total up to 90 on the year. SpaceX's goal is to launch enough of the DTC Starlink satellites to begin offering beta service to its United States customers. Last year, SpaceX announced a partnership with T-Mobile in order to introduce that capability to U.S. carrier or U.S. Customers. It also has a number of international partners in this venture as well, and has started to get the paperwork going with the FCC in order to do some testing out beyond the U.S. territory. Each of these Starlink satellites clocks in at about 1,760 pounds, or about 800 kilograms. Once their solar panels unfurl, they have a wingspan of about 100 feet or 30 meters. They use argon Hall thrusters for in-orbit maneuvering, as opposed to the previously used Krypton Hall thrusters. They were built in Redmond, Washington, nearish Seattle. They'll be deployed at about 180 miles or 290 kilometers altitude at a 53-degree inclination. What you're seeing there on the left of the Starlink V2 minis from a previous launch. Here's what they look like in their on-orbit configuration as imaged by HEO Robotics, which specializes in imagery of other on-orbit spacecraft. We're now T-minus 5 minutes, 52 seconds and counting. Just about a minute away from the start of the strong back retract sequence. Again, that will start with the clamp arms underneath the payload fairings opening up, and then the transporter erector of the strong back will recline about 13 degrees away from the Falcon 9 rocket. It stays in that position until liftoff. Before we hit that point, and we'll start getting views of the Falcon 9 rocket very soon, I want to thank a few more folks for your support this evening. Our thanks to NDN Boogie for a $1 super chat. Thank you, NDN. Cynthia Graves with a $5 super chat, simply saying, hey. Shadle can't trust nobody with a secret. $5 super chat. Thank you. And with that, we have a gorgeous sunset view of the Falcon 9 rocket. We were hearing that the weather near Vandenberg was quite picturesque tonight, and as you can see with these live pad shots now, certainly lives up to the hype. A much, much clearer view here than we had here in Florida earlier today. Here's that call out for the strong back retract sequence now getting underway. So again, be sure to A, let us know in the live chat where you're watching from tonight, and B, if you're in the area of Southern California, Central to Southern California, along the west coast of Mexico, or as far out as potentially Arizona or Utah. Keep your eyes looking west, and if you are able to capture a photo or video, be sure to tag us on Facebook, Threads, or especially X. See the strong back now pulling away from the Falcon 9 rocket. Now about 40-ish seconds away from the first stage liquid oxygen tank being full. We'll hear that call out in about 30-ish seconds. While we're waiting, squeezing a couple more folks' support. Thanks to channel member Nelson Reyes. Good to see you again this evening, Nelson. And thanks for gifting 5 Spacefly Now memberships. Also to Apocalypse Cow for gifting 5 Spacefly Now memberships. Thanks to the both of you. To our newest channel members, welcome aboard. We're very glad to have you with us. Be sure to thank Nelson and Apocalypse in the live chat if you haven't already.
Stage 1 lock slot is complete.
Good call out from SpaceX. The last remaining big fueling item here will be the second stage LOX load. And that wraps up in about 40 seconds.
Stage 2 lock slot is complete.
And with that call out, the Falcon 9 rocket is now full with 1 million pounds of propellant. Now less than a minute and a half to liftoff. For folks who are able to see the rocket in real time, we were about a minute and 10 seconds away from liftoff. The SpaceX feed comes in at about a 7-second delay or so. So keep that in mind if you're hoping to see the rocket with your own eyes. We're now about a minute to liftoff, so we'll come back to our live chat here on the other side of launch. But for now, we're going to keep our attention focused on the Falcon 9 itself. Standing by for the go for launch call.
LD is go for launch.
And with that, we are now 40 seconds away from SpaceX's second Falcon 9 flight of this Sunday.
T-minus 30
20
seconds.
Starlink satellites are on board this particular Falcon flight. 13 feature the direct-to-cell capability.
T-minus 15
Let's go ahead and
seconds.
listen in to this final count. We'll be back with you
10,
on the other side.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ignition. And it'll lift off Falcon 9. Go SpaceX. Go direct to cell.
Vehicle is pitching downrange.
Stage 1 propulsion is nominal.
Power and telemetry nominal. Vehicle is supersonic. Max Q.
And a good liftoff of the Falcon 9 rocket from Vandenberg Space Force Base. Falcon 9 now traveling faster than the speed of sound, and you heard that call out of max Q, passing through the point of greatest aerodynamic pressure on the vehicle.
Vandenberg chill has started.
With that call out, they are thermally conditioning the Merlin vacuum engine on the second stage of the Falcon 9, in preparation for the start of its burn. We're coming up on a few different events in fairly rapid succession here in the second minute of the flight. First, we'll see first stage main engine cutoff for MECO at about T plus 2 minutes and 25 seconds. That'll be followed 3 seconds later by stage separation. Then that Merlin vacuum engine will ignite at about T plus 2 minutes and 35 seconds. And the payload fairings will deploy at just past the 3-minute mark. You get a nice view of the horizon line there coming in from the left-hand side of your screen. Just a few seconds left before MECO.
Main engine cutoff.
Stage separation confirmed.
MVAC ignition.
All good callouts, all good events there from SpaceX. You see the Merlin vacuum engine starting to ignite, the hypersonic grid fins deploying, and fairing deployment coming up now in just a couple seconds.
Fairing separation confirmed.
And with that, the Starlink V2 mini satellites now exposed to the vacuum of space for the first time on this mission. A little more than 3 minutes into flight now. Coming up in less than 3 minutes will be the start of the first stage entry burn. That's coming up at about T plus 6 minutes and 1 second. That burn will last for about 25 seconds in total. You see the Falcon 9 first stage still continuing to climb. It reaches an apogee of about 115 kilometers, give or take. Looks like it's probably hit the top of its arc at 114 today. Yep, now it's starting to make its descent. A little more than 4.5 minutes into flight. Those periodic bursts you're seeing in between the hypersonic grid fins, those are the cold gas thrusters. They're used to help adjust the attitude of the booster or its positioning as it begins to orient itself and start to make its way back down towards the drone ship. Of course, I Still Love You, stationed in the Pacific Ocean. Now more than 5 minutes into flight. We're now less than a minute away from the start of that first stage entry burn beginning, where that first stage booster will reignite. A few of its Merlin engines begin to dramatically slow the vehicle down.
Stage 1 entry burn startup.
And there you see the start of that entry burn. Once again, this burn lasting for about 25 seconds in total. About 5 seconds left.
Stage 1 entry burn shutdown.
With the conclusion of that entry burn, you can see the speedometer has dropped quite dramatically from where it was previous to the burn beginning. Coming up, the next milestone is about a minute away now. T plus 7 minutes, 49 seconds is when the first stage landing burn begins. I'll set up that first stage booster B-1075 in the SpaceX fleet for a landing on the drone ship. Of course, I still love you at about T plus 8 minutes and 14 seconds.
Stage 1 FTS is saved.
That call there, the flight termination system, or the FTS, has now been saved. It's no longer in use for the first stage at this point in the flight.
Stage 1 transonic.
Falcon 9 now slowing to below the speed of sound. It's a combination
Stage 2
of the
FTS is saved.
atmospheric drag and that entry burn helping to slow the vehicle down, setting up again that landing burn to begin.
Stage 1 landing burn.
Should see some views of the drone ship pop up on the right momentarily.
Stage 2 in terminal guidance.
Landing leg deploy. Stage 1 landing confirmed.
And with that, for the 11th time, this first stage booster 1075 is up and down, safe on the drone ship.
Vandenberg shut down.
And with the conclusion of that burn on the second stage of the Falcon 9 rocket, we'll go into a parking orbit and coast until T plus 53 minutes, 16 seconds, where there will be a brief 2-second burn, setting up the Starlink satellites to deploy at T plus 1 hour and 10 seconds. Certainly appreciate all of you who have been with us this evening. Want to go ahead and hit our mission stats, and then we'll pop back over to the live chat before we go ahead and close things out this evening. With the launch and landing of that first stage booster marked the 11th mission for B-1075 in the SpaceX fleet. This was the 346th Falcon 9 launch to date, the 64th Falcon flight of 2024 so far, the 66th overall SpaceX launch on the year, including the 2 flight tests of SpaceX's Starship rocket from its Starbase facility in southern Texas. This was SpaceX's 117th orbital launch within the last 365 days, the 82nd launch for SpaceX from this particular pad, Space Launch Complex 4 East, and this was the 150th overall orbital launch from Slick 4E. Also the 21st orbital flight from Vandenberg this year. Looking to add the first non-SpaceX Vandenberg orbital launch later on this week with a mission on behalf of NASA that is a Firefly Alpha flight looking to launch on Thursday. Moving on to some recovery stats. This was the 94th booster landing on the drone ship, Of Course I Still Love You. This was SpaceX's 253rd drone ship landing and the 322nd Falcon booster landing overall. Finally, some industry stats. Again, the 21st orbital launch from California, the 68th orbital launch from U.S. soil. This marked the 75th orbital launch from a U.S. rocket company. and the 122nd orbital launch from around the world. Here's where that pie chart now stands. The U.S. missions representing 62% of the overall orbital launch pie. China's 31 missions, including the orbital ascent, or the ascent to lunar orbit, I should say, from the Chang'e mission. Big week for China, as a matter of fact, as the samples that were gathered on the far side of the moon are set to return to Earth, I believe, early in the morning hours on Tuesday, from the perspective of where we are here on the East Coast. And before we wrap up, as promised, want to return to the live chat here and thank some folks for your support this evening. Our thanks to Lynn Shapiro for a $10 super chat. Thank you, Lynn. Saying this is a wonderful YouTube feed. Lynn joining us from Brea, California. RPM for years with a $5 super chat, saying that they launched a drone to get good video of the flight tonight from Seal Beach, California. They're interested to see how that ended up shaking out. Already starting to see some good stuff from folks over on X, formerly known as Twitter. Looks like a very cool jellyfish effect captured by Penguin from Gilbert, Arizona. Another jellyfish from X handle Christodamus, saying my son was super stoked for this launch. Looks lovely. Be sure to tag us on X if you were able to catch the launch tonight. Love to see more of what you were able to spot this evening. I also want to thank Can't Trust Nobody with another super chat, saying watching from Bombay Beach at Foy Resort. Bella Rose with a $2 super chat. Thank you, Bella. 7-Eleven Dirty D with a $2 super chat. Thank you, 7-Eleven. Looks like Mario on X. Got a great view from Bellflower tonight. FP, Festive Pineapple, was able to capture some nice imagery from their vantage point in Santa Barbara. And Skyhawk 0404 got a very beautiful jellyfish effect with a nice overall view of the plume from their vantage point in San Diego. And I apologies for not remembering. One of our channel members mentioned that the launch was coinciding with the fireworks at one of the theme parks down near San Diego, I believe Six Flags, Magic Mountain, maybe. If you happen to capture those two simultaneously, love to see that photo, that video. But thanks also to Robert Allen with his $10 super chat. Thank you, Robert, for your support this evening. Stephanie Houston and Username, both with $2 super chats. Thanks to the both of you. Want to welcome a few new channel members here. Welcome aboard to Robert Hendrickson, Skate Letter, and XEU0, all joining with channel membership at the pad leader level. Welcome aboard to the three of you, and welcome to whomever Skate Letter just gifted a spaceflight membership to as well. Finally, Lucinda Miles with a $2 super chat. Thank you, Lucinda. Nick Trulines with a $7.77 super chat. Nikki Gracie Dad joining us from Santa Paulo in California. Good to have you all with us tonight. And finally, Wumpy with a $5 super chat, saying my first time seeing a launch with good binoculars from Escondido, California. Absolutely unreal what you can see with your own eyes. And yes, highly recommend if you can possibly catch a launch in person, either here in Florida or over in California. It is quite the remarkable experience, as you can see here with this image that Stephen was kind enough to toss in our slides. This again captured by Skyhawk 404. A wonderful image here. So we're going to close out our live launch coverage tonight, but again, be sure to continue tagging us on Facebook threads and X. Love to continue seeing your work. And I want to remind you again, once you're done here with this stream, pop over to our 24-hour live stream, Launchpad Live, where we've got our camera eyes on Launch Complex 39A, where the Falcon Heavy rocket will eventually be rolling out in support of the NASA and NOAA GOES-U mission, sending up that geostationary satellite, currently targeting a liftoff from this particular launch pad here in Florida on Tuesday, June 25th at 5:16 p.m. Eastern, 21:16 UTC for our friends around the world. We'll have good coverage leading up to the mission. Number of briefings both tomorrow and on Tuesday leading up to the planned launch attempt. The weather, well, that's another story. Only forecast to be 30% favorable for liftoff at 5:16 as of today's launch weather forecast. So we'll see if that improves or deteriorates once tomorrow's outlook is issued. And we'll be sure to keep you updated on all of the changes or potential changes, not guaranteeing that the launch will be adjusted, but with the weather, given what it is, certainly not an impossible possibility. You can head over to spaceflightnow.com or keep it right here on YouTube, and we'll keep you in the loop. I want to thank our wonderful moderators in the live chat who've been helping us out throughout the course of the evening. Our thanks to Callistia Lee, to Astro Joe, and to Astro Jen. And a general thank you, the support of Rusty Shackelford and Stephanie B as well. Thanks, of course, to our Spaceflight Now editor, Stephen Young, for running the technical operations of the show. And most of all, thanks to you for wherever you're watching from tonight. Certainly appreciate it, and we hope you continue to join us with all of our live launch opportunities. Be sure to click that subscribe button if you're not already subscribed to the channel as you head out the digital door. It's free, and if you turn on the notifications, then you'll be given the heads up when we start our next live launch broadcast or post new videos to hear on the channel. For all of us here at Spaceflight Now, I'm Will Robinson Smith. Be good to yourselves, be good to others. Hope you had a wonderful weekend and are rested and rejuvenated for another week ahead. And we will see you next time, folks. Bye-bye.